I've got cause.
A warm welcome to our fearless lesbian leader and superstar teacher, Marjorie Kreitman.
Marjorie, I think you're on mute.
Hello. You thought it was a silent movie, didn't you? Okay, here we go. So, welcome to our class performance. We have many writers lined up to share their work with you. It's very exciting. And this is the culmination of a 6-week course that is all the writing is generated by prompts. The writers get 10 minutes and they're given a choice of maybe 5 prompts for each session, for each write. And they go ahead and have at it. They just pick a prompt and they write for about 10 minutes. And then later in the class, we read them aloud. So these are sort of the cream of the crop of their pieces from this session. And in the very beginning, what we're going to have is a group of pieces that's going to kind of introduce you to each writer. Each writer will tell you their name, and they're going to read a piece called I'm From, and it'll give you a taste of who they are. And then after that, we're going to go back and start again, and each writer will have time to read you 2 of their pieces. And please have in mind that these pieces were mostly written in this time, you know, kind of off the cuff, improvisationally, and that they probably had a little time here at the end to tweak some of their pieces, but you know, these are works in progress. I just want you to keep that in mind. And they're wonderful works in progress too, if I do say so myself. Okay, and thank you so much for Tina for organizing this, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But for now, I'd just like to, well, start the show. So with no further ado, on with the show.
Hi, I'm Janet Thornburg, and I'm from gravel roads that lead to the Sawtooth Mountains. I am from the acrid smell of sagebrush. I'm from howling dogs in my father's veterinary hospital. I'm from finally getting a horse and being terrified every time I rode him. I'm from a mother who lost her husband when she had 5 young kids. I'm from finding out that getting good grades and winning high school elections would never be enough to make my mother happy or to keep us safe. I'm from being the slowest waitress ever to work at the Broad Axe restaurant in Lake City, Colorado, population 387. I'm from the Lake City Blue Bottom Butt Busters Club, an elite group of inner tubers who have survived the long, icy ride down Henson Creek until it merges with the Lake Fork of the Gunnison River in the heart of town.
I'm Alexis Standridge. I'm from hard lacquered breakfast tables, from empty hair cream bottles and moldy plums, from horror novels and 36 notebooks, from Alzheimer's and strokes and heart disease and huge feet. I'm from rice and beans and molasses cookies that apparently don't taste right. I'm from a million dark movie theaters. I'm from screaming until your vocal cords cut each other, from peach lemonade on front steps in the very beginning of April and shitty mozzarella sticks and sweaty hand-holding. I'm from softball teams because I can't escape every stereotype, from a home that shower drains fear, from a home that defines family by blood, no matter how it clots. I'm from parents who really tried but failed anyways, and big promises and secret plans and bank accounts. I'm from loud conversations in tiny spaces and a sincere belief in my own homosexual asshattery.
I'm El Duarte.
I'm from wet, dark secrets, tears, magical realism, and cups of tea. I'm from the school of hard knocks around the corner from Heaven's Door, also known as Grandma's house, and the mean streets of ask me no questions, I'll tell you no lies, and don't you dare come around here talking that bullshit. You know, where the stop sign actually reads, survive, survive. I'm from here, I'm from there, I'm from everywhere. I'm from woman, heavenly pussy, the goddess, tested and tried, thick lips, nappy heads, and pots and pots and pots and pots of hot, brown, rich, medicinal bean soup. Too many to count, but each bowl thankfully remembered. I'm from a place of hurt, sadness, abandonment, where you rise from the ashes and fly like a phoenix because you've been there, done that. I'm from the smoky, hot rooms where people talk a lot, but ain't nobody really listening. Where I'm from, where I'm from, where I'm from is just about as much about where I'm going.
I'm Zoe Jen. I'm from classism. I'm from it's better to be like Audrey Hepburn than Marilyn Monroe. From we aren't BMW people. And teaching yourself how to do makeup because there's nobody else to show you. I'm from only child syndrome. From you can earn $1 million, but you can't win $1 million. And first impressions are everything. I'm from, you should wear your hair up more often. From do the right thing. 3 years of piano lessons with nothing to show for it. I'm from, promise me you'll learn French someday. Lipstick in kitchen drawers for an easy touch-up when nobody is looking. A hamster who sleeps all day and runs on his squeaky wheel all night. I'm from warm. I'm from big, chunky knit sweaters. I'm from putting the candle out before it reaches the last of the wick.
I'm Maureen Bogues. I'm from Nebraska. Well, no, not really. I'm from Pasadena, California, the Huntington Memorial Hospital on a winter day. Not quite winter, but almost mid-December. I'm from Northern Irish stock, the Catholic variety, except I'm not Catholic anymore. I'm from Nebraska. No, really, I grew up there, where the corn is high in mid-July, but I never did work in a cornfield. I'm from the city, always a city, where there are bright lights, lots of people, dogs, bars, and food. I'm from a theater family on my dad's side. Aunt Betsy was an actress in Ireland, and several cousins are still in the theater. I'm from my mom, an expert baker and assembler of large puzzles, drinker of Irish whiskey, and reader of every Agatha Christie mystery, plus all biographies of all the major composers. I am from my mom, also the place where all piano, guitar, and viola lessons began, and a love of classical music was born. I'm from Maddie, my dog, and I enter her world every day to see how I can be as sweet and as accepting as she is. I am from a family of 6, myself, 3 brothers, my mom and dad. I am from San Francisco, my home of 25 years, and I'm from a long line of lesbians who didn't quite fit into society's role for a female, but I found my spot anyway.
Hi, I'm Myra Lucas. I am from the sun, from palm trees and a land with no history, from tropical salt and sea and orange trees. I'm from pancit, lumpia, adobo, and palabok, from hard work and insomnia, from parents who didn't know what they were getting into. I am from tetherball and always winning against the boys, from bike rides around the neighborhood, from playing in the dirt and not acting like a girl. I am from forced music lessons, but no curfews, from solitude, from poetry, from worlds of my own words, because I am from the sun. I am from my own gravity.
Good evening. I'm Mickey Eliason. I'm from miles of cornfields waving in the breezes, small towns with ice cream socials and blazing hot summers, and a land where emotions were so tightly held that everyone looked constipated. I'm from an era where I could be a tomboy, but not a lesbian, of summers of bean walking and detasseling corn, and parents who were called the salt of the earth, and where nope and yup were the main vocabulary for men, and we ate food on a stick at the state fair. I'm from the land of Grant Wood's American Gothic, the state that when I tell people, they think it's Idaho or Ohio, but it's really Iowa, a place I love but never want to live in again.
Bija. Mija. Are you there?
Mija just needs to unmute.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, it's your turn.
Okay. I'm from the stories Granddad told of his desperate flight from Georgia to New York. I am from a mother who loved to read, who handled life with a big stick and a gentle voice. I am from a childhood whose stories were Black history truths. I am from New York City streets where I dance between the cracks of trouble. I am from aunties that had no problem in speaking their mind or raising a gun. I am from a father that forgot that he wasn't just a holiday daddy. I am from the pulse of a bass line, the twang of a guitar, the sweet harmonies of a requiem. I am from the earth, solid, stubborn, and giving. I am from a galaxy far, far away where women are the leaders and war is never an option. I am from my mother's womb, birth with talent, hope, and a loving heart.
An ode to my body. Oh, body, you have moved closer and closer to center stage, hogging more and more of my attention with your aches and pains. I'm not entirely pleased by that. I really liked it back in the days when you just went along with whatever half-assed adventure either of us cooked up. How we chased our attractions, how we blasted away our worries. Whoa, those were the days. We kept going no matter what, no matter if we smoked cigarettes all day and weed all night, no matter if we drank too much on weeknights and even more on weekends, no matter if we paid no attention at all to sleep hygiene. We just kept taking it to the limit and beyond. Sure, the hangovers were brutal and the bronchitis was pretty much nonstop, but did you whine back then? No, you just rose to the occasion. So gone are those days. Now, just taking 4 boxes of pants to the Salvation Army donation station totally wiped you out yesterday. And you collapsed on the bed right after we ate our microwave dinner. And damn it, your lower back is messed up this morning in spite of cold packs and Advil. What do you want? 13 hours of sleep isn't good enough for you? Buried in my drawer. Do you know the first place a jewelry thief will look if he or she breaks into your house? Your underwear drawer. When I read that in a mystery novel a few years ago, I panicked and rushed to my underwear drawer to rescue the only valuable jewelry I've ever owned, a pair of diamond earrings. I immediately put the earrings someplace a thief would never think to look. Since then, I've moved 3 times. Last week, while finishing up the paperwork for my living trust, I suddenly wondered where I'd put those diamond earrings. The more I searched, the more anxious I became. Where had I thought a thief would never look, but I would? Wait a minute, I thought. Could the earrings be in my canvas overflow bag, the one with papers that are important but not precious enough to be in the emergency grab and go bag? I hefted the canvas overflow bag down from the highest hook in the closet and took it over to the sofa. Old passports, a copy of my certificate of domestic partnership with Michelle, a copy of our sperm donors agreement, copies of Nick and Sarah's birth certificates, copies documenting my adoption of Nick and Sarah, a copy of the dissolution agreement that terminated my domestic partnership with Michelle. And there, in the very bottom of the bag, were the diamond earrings. The Costco receipt was taped to the box, $750. The same amount Donald Trump paid in income tax, federal income tax in 2016 and 2017. Is it a lot of money? I guess it depends on the context. I was relieved but not exhilarated when I opened the little box. Why had I even bought those earrings? The date on the receipt was October 2nd, 2015, right after Sarah had gone off to college. I guess I was asserting that my desires mattered again, but I wore the earrings only once to a retirement party at work. Nobody complimented me on them. And even worse, I didn't enjoy the party at all because I was preoccupied with checking my ears every few minutes to make sure one hadn't fallen out. There's no joy for me in these earrings. I should give them to Sarah. Maybe now, or maybe when I die. But wait, Nick has come out as non-binary. Why should the earrings go to Sarah and not Nikki J? 1 earring to each? No, I'll just hold off and make sure to remember the diamond earrings are in the canvas bag. Or maybe I should move them someplace safer. Oh no, don't play with fire.
Movement. It was unconscious movement, motivated by a true want to be there with me in that moment. And neither of us were in love with each other, and I didn't know about love and the work it required, but I knew something about that hand on mine, and I knew that it frightened me beyond all reason. Me being frightened had little to do with how sweaty my own hand was, and how much sweatier it became when a much softer hand clutched it. I took in shaky breaths, smelling 2 cheap perfumes mixing together, staring at another woman who I thought surely couldn't be as nervous as me. According to her, I had looked terrified, something she still laughs about to this day with a hearty grin, while she drives a much better car than the shitty piece of junk we both cramped our bodies into that night. And I think now that I'm still young and stupid and really have no right to be writing anything attempting to be profound or wise or experienced, I'm able to reason out why that hand-to-hand reach was something I will remember. Because I think someone said something once, love is reaching out in the dark. I like that statement. I think it's prettier and more well-defined than I will ever be, but I disagree with it. I don't think love is a purposeful reach, and I don't think it's in the dark. I think you know what you're reaching for, but reaching for it isn't a choice that you've made. It's easier for me to understand my own belief when I'm walking side by side with that same girl, and I reach out to hold her hand, a movement I suddenly become hyper aware of when we're in public because movement, as with everything else, is politicized when seen in the public sphere. And a girl reaching to hold the hand of another girl is certainly seen and definitely politicized. But here's the thing, I usually don't plan on reaching to hold her hand, I just do it because I subconsciously want to hold the hand of a girl with a big laugh and great music taste and a history of terrible cars. And somewhere along the way of these millions of instances of hand holding, I fell in love with this huge dork, a possibility that fully terrified me when we first held hands in her terrible car. A car that seemed to hate me personally because, according to her, it never had problems until I got in it. Shitty cars aside, I think people can choose to want love, but they have absolutely no choice whatsoever in how the hell they get there. Or maybe I just need to focus on kissing my girlfriend and holding her damn hand. An unexpected perk. An unexpected perk of going to the Stanford Theater in Palo Alto is that it's the cheapest date in the Silicon Valley. Of course, the cheapest date would be free, but I argue the best cheapest date still costs a little something. They play old movies in a historic theater from the golden age of Hollywood. The building is privately owned by some rich guy and is kept for both historical appreciation, spectacle, and entertainment. Tickets are $10, $5 if you lie and say you and your girlfriend are 17. This gets harder to lie about as we both approach our mid-20s. And we're obviously sneaking in huge bottles of cheap vodka in my girlfriend's big gay denim jacket, but they usually let it slide. Popcorn, popped fresh with not too much salt, costs $1.50 for a huge bucket. The lobby is grand, with a velvet-coated staircase leading to glossy wooden doors, opening wide. There's a big red curtain of the screen. Suddenly reminded that watching movies was an event back in the day, something exciting and youthful, a performance all on its own. There's an organ that rises from beneath the stage, with a little old man playing the theme from the movie you're about to see, Sabrina, The Little Foxes, North by Northwest. We go to our usual spots. She is a fan of the balcony seats, while I prefer as close as I can get, mostly because I swear I can see up Gregory Peck's nose. We usually sit on the balcony. Then the lights get dark, the curtain rises, you can see 20th Century Fox appear in silver and white, and you reach a hand out to your balcony-loving girlfriend and wonder if you're sitting in the same seats as another couple, long since passed, who can only hold hands in the dark. You travel through time for a moment, and you see them, and you watch them watch the movie, and you wonder if they see you.
This is Getting Away with It. We had the perfect wedding, for what it's worth. The kind of thing you can brag about on Facebook. It was fun-ish. But what do I remember the most? Getting away with it. We got married in the grossly hetero perfect way, and we had the enviable honeymoon package. Paris and Greece. How insanely decadent. And privilege. Yes, I had married the white boy. But what was the best part? Getting away with it. Our first fairy tale day in Paris turned into a night walk on the Champs-Élysées, followed by escargot, baguette, and a Coke, only to dip into the metro, the dirty underbelly in the city of lights. Oh, so cliche, so perfect. But deep down, we know our secret. We are dirty little punker sluts from the Bay Area who just play the part to get by. And our anarchist roots aren't going to pay for the metro or any other government-controlled form of public transportation in this city or any other fucking city. We jump the turnstiles per usual, just another day of getting away with it. Only honeymoon version. Boom. Something screamed at us in French by 3 hired security guards working the metro, minding the man's euro. Why is it that hired security guard uniforms. No matter which city, no matter which country, no matter if it's the fashion capital of the world, their uniforms always scream itchy, cheap, polyester, imitations of a cop uniform possibly bought at the Halloween superstore. The three of them are in our path, waving tinsel badges in our face. Halt, control France! Halt, control France! But this is not our first time at the rodeo. I scream, you push, I grab a necklace from around the security guard's neck and throw it to the ground. For that, I'm later remorseful. And we run. We run up the stairs, drive into the nearest crowd, turn right into a shoe store and ask for a size 6, drop onto the bench provided, and an increasingly number of sirens wail away. We struggle to catch our breath. Some folks stare at us with concern. Eventually, we share a knowing glance, a casual smile that this is why we married each other. This is the moment we will remember with a bittersweet sadness long after our marriage has dissolved into a bitter divorce. The sheer joy of getting away with it, if even for a moment, the idea that we are a team, the idea that we wouldn't let the world mold us into tan pants and monthly date nights. Or so we thought. This is If I Knew Then What I Know Now. If I knew then what I know now, I would have kissed you longer, harder. I would have touched your skin so much. Your sweet cheeks with skin falling away from your bones and fragile arms. You passed away so long ago, and yet I miss you more than ever. If I knew then what I know now, I would have taken more lovers, because nobody tells you that you become invisible bit by bit the older you get. That the more educated, wise, jaded you become, the more woke also equates to more cautious, less able to flirt. That as your pretty girl privilege starts to fade, that your lack of flirting skills become an albatross around your neck, dragging any ability you might once have known of the art of seduction into a red-hot mess of awkwardly feigned intellectualism. I would have taken some nude photos because what I was once so embarrassed about, what I once felt so guilty about, is now something I wish I would have commemorated in print and glitter, flaunted it through the streets with pride. I'd pull the rug out under judgment of others and myself for sharing love, blood, sweat, spit. I would have kissed more strangers in bars, 'cause kisses are nice. Scream down the halls, get it while you can, because sooner than you can imagine, you will toss and turn in a lonely bed, resentful as fuck that you've worn masturbation out and you don't do hit me up quick apps and you don't have friends with benefits and you're living in a time where the closest pleasure you're going to get is 6 feet away. Live your life, young person. Live your life. I would have listened more to those voices, my urges. Now, as I get closer to seeing the beginning of the end, I wish I would have said, sorry more, Grandma, and held you more, closer, tighter, longer.
This is Assumptions. Last year, pre-COVID, I was at a party when a man tells me he likes my shoes. Thank you, I say. They're Karl Lagerfeld. He looks me up and down, but I don't mind because he is clearly gay. Love the leather jacket, he says. Then he leans in, too close because he is drunk, and says, "You're like really rich or something, right?" "No," I say, and smile. "But thank you." People make this mistake not infrequently because of how I dress, because of where I went to school, because of where I live, because of the car I drive, and because I know how to carry myself. I do my part to keep people making this assumption. In fact, I work very hard to keep people making this assumption. I grew up feeling painfully middle class, and any chance I have to escape that reality, I gladly take. I am always flattered and a little exhilarated when someone thinks I come from money. I know that some people know the truth. The kids I went to school with, my neighbors who still remember when I drove my grandfather's old car, the people who paid me $8 an hour to babysit their spoiled children, my family. The people who know me know I rarely pay full price for anything. They know my aesthetic is luxe on a budget, faux, but you won't know. But I welcome the assumption that I am like very rich or something, because it means that I am making my own way, shedding my old skin, emerging on the other side, reinventing myself. Maybe one day someone will ask me that, and I will laugh and say, yes, I am like really rich. Although I know a rich person would never say that. Maybe I will give a coy smile and say, I do all right. My third grade teacher. My third grade teacher, Miss Shapiro, was the best. She was warm and smart, and she challenged me. I was a very sensitive child. I cried easily and let other people affect me. I remember the day she told me I needed to get a thicker skin. I hated hearing that. R.J. Caslow had commented that I looked fat in the shirt I was wearing, which instantly made me burst into tears. I ran to Miss Shapiro, expecting her to comfort me. Instead, she sat me down and said, listen to me. Why does it matter what he thinks? Tell him to mind his own business. You can't let people hurt your feelings so easily. You need to get a thicker skin. But you can tell him if he calls you fat again, he'll be sorry. Tell him Miss Shapiro says for him to keep his opinion to himself. I was 8, and I remember thinking, shouldn't I be allowed to be this much of a baby? Isn't this a situation worth crying over? But she was right. I cry over a lot of things now, but never about someone's opinion of me. Miss Shapiro also saw a lot of potential in me. One day I overheard her telling my mother to sign me up for acting classes. She is a ham, Miss Shapiro insisted. She has talent. I thought of her when I got my BFA in theater. Miss Shapiro's father was a doctor, Dolph Shapiro. We called him Dr. Dolphy. She brought him to class sometimes. He was very popular with the boys and good at math. He practiced multiplication tables with them for hours. I was bad at math. Dr. Dolphy coached me, and I started getting better than the boys. There was a contest to see who was the best at multiplication in the class. It was down to me and Isaac. Isaac was a math genius, but I had practiced so hard. I was ready. Everyone was watching. In the end, Isaac won the competition. I remember Dr. Dolphy taking me outside. It's not about who wins or loses. It's about the fact you tried. He told me he was proud of me. Math comes easily to Isaac, he said, but you worked harder than anyone. Somehow hearing that was better than if I won. At the end of the year, Dr. Dolphy came to our class and gave out an award for his favorite student, which, looking back, is probably wrong for a lot of reasons, but I still don't care because I won.
The person who knows me best. The person who knows me best is slowly slipping away in a nursing home. My mom and I are so different. I can be loud and impulsive and temperamental, like my dad, shitty with details, prone to exaggeration and storytelling. In my family, if you get a good story out of a bad experience, it is always worthwhile. My mom will tell you she's not a storyteller, but she is. She's just not a big bullshitter like my dad was. She's precise and thoughtful, organized and tidy. None of these are qualities I inherited, except maybe the thoughtful part, or at least I like to think so. I've gotten worse at being thoughtful during the pandemic Time just seems to bend and fold in on itself, and I have forgotten birthdays or been way late with greetings. My mom is so thoughtful, however, that you haven't even mailed her gift yet, and she already has a thank you note in the mail. Despite our differences, she has always accepted me, the adult me anyway. As a kid, she seemed kind of distant, and I've talked to a lot of therapists about that. But as adults, we get along great. She's too forgiving of my outbursts. I got my dad's hot temper, and it really only comes out when I'm tasked with anything technical or mechanical, like my computer. Well, okay, I did some yelling that time. My mom and I were driving on an LA freeway, and we got lost trying to get to my aunt's home, senior living facility. I guess that's kind of technical too, right? Using a map, getting directions, not my strength. And I think we had a GPS, or maybe it was MapQuest directions on paper. This was 2009, so I can't remember. It was our first visit to Los Angeles since my dad had died only months before. And suddenly, lost on a freeway, every raw nerve was exposed. I was crazed with grief and anger and sadness all at once. I drove like a maniac. I yelled like a maniac, not at my mom, or at least I tried not to yell at her, but I yelled at other cars. I yelled at the car I was driving, the stupid, shitty GPS, if that's what we had, or the MapQuest directions. I don't remember. I apologized later, but I never felt like I deserved forgiveness. I was out of control, but my mom forgave me. I don't know where she got the patience. Maybe it was from being around my dad, and she fell in love with him in spite of his loud temper. He fell in love with her. She fell in love with him because he made her laugh. I make my mom laugh, or I try to. Dancing with my dad. I'm trying to think of the last time I danced with my dad. Probably 20 years ago at my brother's wedding. I can't really remember. It was probably the last time I ever wore a dress also. My dad was a pretty good dancer in spite of being kind of a big guy. He had innate rhythm, and of course he knew how to lead when we did partner type dancing. I remember 8 years later, I was at another wedding. This time it was my two friends, two women, and they were getting married at this pretty clubhouse on a lake down in the peninsula. We were all at round tables at the reception, and it was time for the father-daughter dance. 3 months before, I had lost my own dad, and I was still clearly in the early stages of grief. When my friend got up to dance with her dad, I lost it. I started crying uncontrollably right there at my table and had to run to get out of the room. A friend followed me outside, and we talked and talked as I cried and walked. Eventually, we went back to the reception after I could collect myself. It's so weird with grief, how it hangs out until the least opportune moment and then decides to assert itself as if to say, ha ha, fuck you, I'm the boss of you now. Grief is so mean like that. It's like a bossy dance partner. Shows up like an unexpected guest, pushing you onto the dance floor you never wanted, into places you've never been. It seizes your heart, it takes hold of your hand, and moves you across the dance floor, demanding your full attention. It's the partner you cannot decline, the dance you try to avoid. But dancing is the only answer. Heavy on your feet, awkward and agonizing. There are no smooth moves this time. Someday, Maybe, but not for a while.
Sleepover memories. I wasn't sure what to expect when she showed up at my door with 5 bags. Well, 3 bags and 2 giant totes full of groceries and food. She said she overpacked. Maybe we miscommunicated because I thought she was only staying for dinner. I was willing to bite my tongue because it seemed like she had the intention of cooking multiple meals, something I am always too lazy to do. I was hungry, so I grabbed her bags and put them in my room as she fumbled with the 2 big totes into the kitchen. Kale, oranges, and berries spilling onto the floor. My 2 cats were instantly attracted to the trail of food she left behind. They were curious about her, my new potential lover, mate, girlfriend? We didn't have labels yet. As she unpacked the rest of the groceries, my eyes followed her form as she floated across the kitchen, navigating her way through my cabinets, as if she had always lived here. Every so often, she looked at me with a coy smirk, like she was reading my mind, and she was slightly embarrassed at what I was thinking. She picked up the last orange off of the floor, entranced by its bruised imperfections, a lumpy, pithed section of peel next to an almost perfect red-yellow rind. Isn't it interesting how we can be both ugly and beautiful? She asked, peering into the fruit as if it were a crystal ball. This orange doesn't have a way to hide its scars like we do. Do you have scars? I asked. Her smirk faded. At that moment, I wanted to read her mind, to know what imperfections she could possibly have, and to know what she was making for dinner. Story about Dad, a thank you letter. When I look at my face in the mirror, my jawline and freckles line up with yours. Even though I haven't seen you in years, I've memorized these features, and they've become like a photo of a monument, familiar and unchanging. When I think of you, I think of San Francisco, of the damp fog and warm Irish coffees, of Daly City, where you and Mom ended up after immigrating in here in the 60s. I can still hear your voice asking if we want to go pashal on a day trip to visit the pier next time we see each other, to not work too hard, to enjoy life. The timbre of your voice weaves through my memories, real and imagined, every day ever since you died. Where did you go? I haven't spoken to you in 5 years. You had 2 strokes in that time, the last one leaving you stuck physically. We stopped getting your voicemails on our birthdays. No more written cards in your sloppy cursive. No more holiday Christmas songs sung onto a one-way recorder. We never returned your calls anyway. And now we can't. I scrolled through my phone the other day to call the auto shop. Dad was right above Danny's auto and body repair. I thought about dialing your number just to see if you were really dead. It would be a really, really bad joke, and that wasn't your type of humor. It was a Thursday morning when my sister called me to tell me about what had happened to you, that you passed the night before, that your body was just tired, that COVID took you. I stopped breathing. My heart immediately felt tight and suspended, as if God was clutching it so it wouldn't sink. My thoughts were trying to grasp what was real and what was imagined. But what was real was the fact that we weren't allowed to say goodbye. Instead of calling the auto body shop, I tucked a persimmon into my pocket, your favorite fruit, and I decided to take a walk. As I walked along familiar paths, I only hoped that you were dreaming of walking along the pier, drinking an Irish coffee, when you left nearly 1 month ago.
Destroyers of the peace. I feel a little like Sybil of the multiple personality fame. I have all these inner voices berating, criticizing, stoking fears, or just plain annoying me at all hours. So far, I've been able to identify 8 of them. Number 1, the anxious voice is the voice of fears, some of them primal, most of them trivial. Number 2, the critic. This voice can be directed at me, telling me how bad I am and inducing guilt, or it can be directed toward other people in a judgmental, blaming fashion, like a lawyer building a case. Number 3 is the do-over voice. This one dredges up old regrets and replays them in my mind, imagining what I could have said or done differently. No regret is too old to be re-examined. Number 4 is the social commentator. This voice picks up on mundane details of whatever is going on. It makes mental grocery lists. It analyzes whether I can put off laundry another day. It counts the number of steps I'm walking. Nothing is too trivial or unimportant or monotonous to escape its notice. Number 5 is the worker bee. This is the voice of thinking, composing reports, evaluating work problems, generating possible solutions, and creative writing. I like this voice. Number 6 is the daydreamer, the voice of what if. Unlike the do-over voice that focuses on the past, this one often tends towards the future. What if I retired this spring? What if I went on a writing retreat in December? What if I took a photography class? Number 7 is the wisdom voice. This is the quietest and most hidden of the voices. She rarely puts in an appearance, but when she does, she says something insightful, even profound. Finally, number 8 is the earworm. This one tags annoying song fragments and puts them on a loop in my brain. Here's a recent conversation I had with the earworm. I was driving to a trailhead for a walk, the only thing that's been keeping me sane during the pandemic. I turned on the radio briefly and a song was playing. Oh no, I cursed mentally. That song was one of the earworm's favorites. I hope she wasn't listening. I arrived at my destination, headed down the trail that loops around a lagoon and ends up at a lovely beach. Walk like an Egyptian. Stop, I said, we aren't going to do that today. Walk like an Egyptian, she sings again. I take in a deep breath and try to focus on the beauty around me. It's quiet, daybreak, no people, no wind to stir the branches. It should be peaceful. Walk like an Egyptian. I try to think of another song, but when the earworm has control, she monopolizes my memory, sometimes for the entire walk. The more I try to stop thinking of the song, the more it returns. Why don't I learn more of the lyrics? Maybe it wouldn't be as annoying if I knew the words. Walk like an Egyptian. An hour later at the beach, the earworm is still singing. There's something about donut shops and the Kremlin. I strain to make sense of the words, but it's just internal noise. The earworm visits me almost every day with mostly benign, but utterly annoying song choices. It distracts me from productive thought. It keeps me from achieving any inner silence, and it prevents me from being totally in the moment in those beautiful nature spots. I wish there was a product on Amazon that I could purchase, like Song Be Gone, or Let's Not Name That Tune. But so far, it's an affliction without a cure. The owl. During a 6-week period this fall, I saw a great horned owl on my morning walks on 8 separate occasions. Prior to this, I can only remember seeing an owl 2 or 3 times in the whole 16 years I've lived in San Francisco. But I'm a believer in the notion that everything has meaning, so the owl sightings must be significant. I Googled owls, and I found that the great horned is the largest owl and the most successful predator bird in North America. But what could the significance of being a predator be? That didn't seem to describe me at all. So next I looked up spiritual meanings from Native American perspectives. Owl is associated with the mystery of magic, with omens, visions in the night, and silent wisdom. The owl is a feminine symbol. When secrets hide in the dark, the owl could illuminate and reveal those secrets. I struggled to find some meaning in this description too. I couldn't think of any secrets that I had anymore, and I'm much more practical than inclined toward the magical. Then a memory rose to the conscious part of my brain. It was the early 80s. I was a baby dyke learning about lesbian community. I came out in my early 30s in a university town where lesbians were split into two types. There were the essentialists, who were separatist or radical lesbians who celebrated the differences between men and women and between lesbians and straight women. They called themselves women with a Y or WIMMIN rather than have men or man in their identities. The other type was the queer theory dykes who said that lesbian was a social construct stemming from complicated historical and social contexts. They had more associations with the rest of the LGBT community with no separatist tendencies. I have to say I straddled the line between these groups to keep my dating options open in those early years, although I was much more philosophically aligned with the theory dykes. Now, what does this have to do with owls, you might be wondering? Well, there were also two competing groups of older lesbians. The crones were mainly the separatist and radical lesbians, and they held menopause rituals and howled at the moon naked at the summer solstice. The owls, or older, wiser lesbians, were mostly professional women who held potlucks and hosted intellectual events like book clubs and readings, exploring ways to break down the intersecting evils of ageism, sexism, and other forms of oppression. If I were still living in Iowa now, I'd have to choose between these groups. I think the owl visitations were telling me that I've evolved into an older, wiser lesbian. Perhaps I need to start a Bay Area chapter of the Owls to explore the magic of aging as a lesbian and host some potlucks as soon as this pandemic is over. Who else wants to be an owl?
Billboards. Billboards. The Greyhound bus was filled with people. I was 9 and traveling to Magnolia, North Carolina from New York City with my granddad, Coleman. It was my first long distance trip on a Greyhound bus. I was so excited. I couldn't keep my eyes closed. I couldn't sleep. Looking out the wide windows, seeing cows for the first time, open cornfields and farmhouses. Oh, it must have been really very late because everyone on the bus was asleep, even Granddad Coleman. The night sky was clear and stars were everywhere. I had only seen that many stars at a planetarium. As the bus drove down I-95, I tried to read every billboard we passed. Whoa! Stay at Holiday Inn. Shop at Winn-Dixie. I even saw one that read, "Welcome to North Carolina." Then a few moments later came a bigger billboard that read, "Welcome to Ku Klux Klan territory. All niggas stay out." I woke my granddad in a panic. "Daddy, Daddy, wake up, wake up." But by the time he opened his eyes, the billboard was gone. That billboard said, "Welcome to Ku Klux Klan territory." I almost yelled. Some of the other passengers on the bus were stirred by my exclamation. "Shush, child. You're going to wake the rest of the other people on this bus," Granddad warned me. And in a soft whisper, I told him what I had seen. He smiled and put his arm around me and told me to go to sleep. I fell asleep in the comfort of my granddad's arms, knowing he would protect me. When we reached Magnolia, North Carolina, and Uncle Robert's farm, I was sitting on his porch having the best lemonade ever made, when I saw 4 black teenagers walking down the dirt road, and they all carried guns, rifles, even the girl that was with them. They waved to Uncle Robert, and he waved back, "You young folks, be careful out there." "Yes, sir, Mr. Jennings," one of the teens yelled back. Right then, I realized why Granddad Coleman had made a fuss over the billboard. "They got guns," I said in amazement to Uncle Robert. "Yes, they do, child," he said in a non-concerning tone. We sipped our lemonade on his shaded porch. I guess he must have saw the puzzlement and curiosity in my eyes, because his next words to me were, "You want to learn how to shoot?" I nodded yes, and the next morning was my very first lesson. Okay. On the A train. It was late, I was tired, and I was in such a rush to get out of tap class that I didn't even change my shoes. I should have listened to my senses when he sat next to me on the A train, but I ignored them. Besides, he was a brother, not some old white man I've been told to be leery of by the women in my family. He was an average height black man, dressed in a green suit. His face was clean shaven and didn't show any signs of malice. "How you doing?" he asked, his voice normal and rich. "I'm good, and you?" I replied innocently. But still, something in the back of my head was saying, "Move, Lynn Kathy, move." But I didn't listen. I was 19 and thought I knew everything, like most folks my age with 19 years of wisdom. "Where you headed?" he asked casually. "Home," I replied, not thinking anything was amiss. "Where's home?" he asked, touching my knee. I flinched and tried to move, but he yanked me back into the gray hard seat. "Stop, brother!" I yelled at him. I looked at the few passengers in the subway car, but no one was paying attention. He grabbed my face and said, "I got a knife, be still." I couldn't be still. I tried to push him away, tried to loosen his grip on my face. He showed me the knife, and I couldn't get the scream that was caught in my throat out. "Kiss me, bitch," he said, and my stomach erupted. Every piece of food that I had eaten that day came splurting out of my mouth and landed all over his green suit. "You little bitch," he screamed and raised his fist to hit me. Right at that moment, the doors between train cars opened and one of New York's finest walked into the car. I felt relieved, saved. Then this black man said to the officer as he hid the knife that was but an inch from my gut, "My girl's a little sick, officer," he said to the man in blue with a Stephen Fletcher grin. I thought surely the white officer could see the fear in my eyes. The officer, in his John Wayne stance, shifted the weight of his gun belt, smiled with a nod, and walked away. I raped, knew that I would be dead or worse. I cursed myself for not listening to the warnings my senses had sent. The train doors were open, and over the intercom, the conductor said, 59th Street, watched the closing doors. Finally, that trapped scream escaped my throat. The screech must have shocked that black man. I broke his grasp. Sorry. I broke his grasp and leaped through the closing doors. There on the 59th Street platform, my body shivered uncontrollably and tears filled my eyes. The train began that slow drag out of the station. When I looked up, there he was with his face pressed against the glass door, a wide, angry grin with puke on his collar and a knife pointed at me. I knew that all he would have to do is get off at the next stop and catch the train back to 59th Street Station. I ran up the station stairs. Oh. I ran up the stone and metal stairs of the station, the tips of my tap shoes shouting against the stone, shouting, "Run, girl, run." I pushed through the turnstile, not saying excuse me to the person I almost knocked down, attacked the exit stairwell as if I had been shot like a rocket into the night air. The 8th Avenue number 10 bus was at the corner, its doors almost closed. "Wait," I yelled, and made a mad, breathless dash for the bus. The driver opened the closed doors, and I hopped on. He waited patiently as I frantically searched my bag for 3 quarters. "Calm down, kid," he told me, and nodded for me to sit down. I sat in the front of the bus behind the driver, my body still shivering. Trying to catch my breath, I found the quarters buried in the bottom of my bag and dropped them into the turnstile. Sitting behind the driver, my mind raced through the events of what had just happened. "Stupid, stupid, stupid," I uttered to myself, pounding my forehead with the fist flat of my hand. The people on the bus looked at me as if I was crazy. Yes, I was crazy, scared. As the bus drove along Central Park West, headed uptown to Harlem, I swore to myself and to God that I would never ignore my senses again.
Thank you, all you wonderful, brilliant, fantastic writers. Please, Zach will unmute the audience. Please thank our writers, Janet Thorberg, Alexis Standridge, El Duarte, Zoe Chen, Maureen Bowes, Myra V. Lucas, Mickey Ellison, and
It's time to approve the amount.
and thank you, Marjorie Kreitman. Thank you, Zach Kopsiak, for your tech directing, and Layla Raslin for the program, and Hannah Meyer for the postcard and promo. And just one more big thanks to Marjorie Kreitman for teaching our class and putting these classes together.
Thank you, Tina. Thank you. And thank you to all the writers and all of their very heartfelt, beautiful work today. I'm very proud of all of you, and I do hope you all enjoyed it. Thank you so much for coming. And thank you, Tina and Three Girls Theater, for putting this together and for the opportunity to work with such gifted writers. Thank you again.
And stay tuned for this spring when Three Girls Theater has 10 episodes of a radio play they're working on. Please stick around to say hello to the writers and chit chat and say hello to Marjorie. Thank you. Audience.
I'm gonna go, but thank you.
Thank you.
Tina, you're all on the same. Hi, Tina.
Oh, thank you. Hi, Natasha.
Hi, Tina. Hi, Marjorie. Hi, Janet. That was fabulous. Thank you so much. That was really a fun and interesting format, and the stories were really cool
Good.
and
Great.
harrowing.
Very brave of them, I think.
And your hair, Marjorie, your hair looks fabulous.
Oh, you haven't seen it, huh?
No, I have not. It looks fabulous. I love the cut and I love the color. It looks really great. And everyone's like really very very moving, very powerful.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We all
something. Hi.
Hi. Oh, Matthew.
I wanted to say that each one of you spoke to me in some deep way from your own experiences. They resonate so deeply. I really applaud you. You can't hear the applause, but it's there. And all the work you've done to get there. I would like to speak with each one of you, but you know, it's kind of impossible. And Marjorie, it was a wonderful class. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Mateo. So glad you made it. I'm very happy that you're here. Is there something you want to say to anybody? I mean, I think it's fine to just.
Yeah, I don't know why my chat thing won't open up. I could have written a few things along the way, but it won't. It just won't. And now my power's way down. I plugged it in, so you may not hear anything. I don't know.
I hear
but,
you.
I would like to say that Major's last thing really touched me deeply about her living with her father and the terrible oppression all of you were feeling there that day and forever. I don't know El Duarte's first name, but I liked all your stuff about how when we're young, we feel like we can't try things, particularly sexual things or kissing or meeting people or anything. And we feel so timid about it. And then later we think, why didn't we do that? I love that view. You know, it's like you won't get there anymore. And anyway, we're never too old, is all I can say. The heart never grows old. I can truly say that. And all of you, I wish I could just go back and say things to everybody. I just, it's just been a wonderful evening. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Mateo, thanks for coming. Absolutely telling you about it.
I would like to say I thought the first thing about where did I come from, or what was the title of it? It was so uniquely done by each person, and yet you got a whole sense of their lives in a couple of minutes. I thought it was brilliant. I really did. Each one of you, I think it's publishable. It's just fabulous.
Oh, great. Thank you. Wow. It's a good intro.
You know, like how to write a short biography of yourself. It's this long and just says everything right there. It's wonderful.
Wonderful. Thank you. Anybody else would like to speak to the writers or the class or anything? I don't know. I just know I'm so proud of all of you. You were all totally brilliant and did a great job. And thank you so much for all of your hard work. No, it's not an easy thing to do.
It's not.
on Zoom.
Had you read those to each other before?
Yes, we read them in class.
You had read them to the class, each of you had read them.
Yes, so then
That's
when,
wonderful, because I'm sure every time you hear them, you hear different things, right? I love the thing about the music earworm. Oh,
Yes. No.
there's certain music, the minute I hear it, I have to turn it off because it's going to play in my head every minute. And it's the music I like the least. But what you were saying about wisdom in older years too, that was very, very, very interesting to me.
good, Mickey, always coming up with something like that.
I wish I could remember each one to say something special. It's hard to go back and remember what I would have written on the things, but couldn't get it to work.
Oh, that's okay. Thank you very much for remembering what you did remember. It's very meaningful for everybody to hear. Yeah. I don't know if any of our audiences are still around or if they're, is it writers want to say anything? Or yes, am I hearing something? Somebody?
I really want to appreciate you, Margie, because the prompts were just so provocative. And I think I think every writer has that. I hope every writer has that, and I'm not the only one, but I loved, like, I feel like every time I go to write, like, it's a struggle to get started, and your prompts, like almost 9 out of 10 of them, I was like, like it just, they really help you to just jump. So that was really cool. And I don't know if other people have that experience of just feeling like, oh, I didn't even really know that these stories were in me. So I thought that was really special. And I mean, obviously you've done this for a long time and you've cultivated your craft. So because it feels like what I'm telling people, it doesn't sound like much, but they really are. They're great. They're great.
Oh, thanks. I really appreciate that because I really do try to find things. Actually, I mean, I really look at things that will inspire me personally. So if I feel that if I can get a little excited about it, then something else will, basically. And I try to do something that's not just like what I did last summer, stuff like that.
Right. I was pretty fascinated by how your prompts change and how they reflect what's going on in our lives now. I agree with Elle. It just was easy to write, which how often does that happen when it's easy to write? And I want to say the class was just so wonderfully designed that it moved, we read, we wrote, and it was a wonderful group to work with. I was really inspired by the other writers and felt totally free to be whatever I wanted to be and write whatever I wanted to write. And I agree with, I think Mathilde said this, that I think it was Tina and Marjorie working together that came up with that idea of going around with, I'm Janet and I'm from da-da-da-da. It was really a very clever way to introduce us and also to warm us up. So it worked well.
Yeah. I loved it. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
I'd like to reinforce the idea of considering publishing these too. If you want, I have a lot of experience doing self-publishing. It's very easy to do these days, and we could put together a little anthology that you could sell through Three Girls Theater.
Well, that's an idea. Get AJ excited about that. I don't know if AJ's here or not tonight, but he probably would like to hear that. And Tina.
Yeah, maybe people from all three groups that you've done, ask anybody who wanted to contribute a couple of pieces.
Yeah.
The great thing is they're already written, and not only written, but they've been revised a bit. And I want to say also, Marjorie is an incredible person to help with revision. Like I was resistant. I was thinking, oh, I don't really want to. And then her suggestions just made sense, easy to carry out, and really smart. You are a wonderful, supportive critic.
Oh, wow. That's
Mhm.
thank you so much.
And the
I really
rehearsal process,
appreciated. Oh, you can go, Mo.
oh, sorry. The rehearsal process is very, I'm very grateful for that too, for the really knowledgeable feedback from Tina and Marjorie. It's very helpful, and it helps you to, it's hard to know what's in your own writing sometimes because you're too close to it. But I just felt like the feedback was really supportive and helped that process.
Oh, that's excellent.
Yeah.
You know, Tina's great because Tina's done a lot more Zoom, certainly than I have, and she's done film and TV, so she understands, you know, how it feels and looks on screen, and kind of how to guide you with lights and sound and everything. So we're very fortunate that we have, you know, to help us in that respect too. Yeah. I don't know where Tina went. Where did she go?
I'm here.
Okay.
I'm wondering if Patsy wants to.
I don't think Patsy's here.
Patsy has a picture up.
Picture of it. She's probably out mowing the lawn or something.
Great. Okay. I love it. And Joyce, thank you for your wonderful comment. And I love that Mateo had given great feedback. I wanted to say, Marjorie doesn't know this, but I just wrote a testimonial and sent it to Hannah at 3GT. Joyce, give it a thumbs up. And I was talking about how your prompts are like these, it's like this shot of sort of like poetry that just inspires. It's sort of like this soundbite, this economy of words that somehow has this impact to sort of touch on like this whole emotional landscape. So there's like nothing, and then there's suddenly like, for me, it's really inspired me to also write in all these styles too. So
I think
congratulations, felicidades to everyone.
yeah, because I think, you know, that y'all respond to it. You know, not everybody would, I think. So it's very fortunate that, you know, we are together and that y'all can kind of hear them and get excited by them and inspired by them. You know,
I haven't written anything in like years that I liked. And then I took this class and I just, I had this massive writer's block, and I've never really written stories either. You know, I mean, I don't know if what I wrote was a story. It was still really poetic. Like, I don't know, but it was really helpful to hear your guys' writing, and you guys are all really amazing writers. So it was super inspirational, and I know you all perform and everything. So I felt like very there's like a kinship there.
excellent.
Yeah, it was awesome.
You know, something wonderful too was rehearsing with Tina, and Tina's great, as Marjorie said, great perception of how things will look on Zoom. And the rehearsals made me feel like everybody's stories were in me now. Like I know these stories and I love these stories, and I loved them when they first came out from the prompt, but how wonderful it's been to hear people work on them, tweak them, and then perform them. It's just very rich story making that makes my stories start rising and moving too. It's a wonderful experience.
And I say one thing, I hope you recorded this.
I believe it is.
Did you record it, Tina?
Yes, indeed. It is recorded.
Because you can put it on YouTube or somewhere, and you don't have to publish it. You can have it live. It would be wonderful for other people to be able to hear the class. That would be fantastic. I think almost better than having it published and you read it, because you don't hear the voice.
Yeah.
Hearing the voice and was just wonderful.
Good.
I think you have something in the recording that you can do with it.
We'll have to investigate that. Thank you, Matilda.
Yes.
That's a wonderful idea. I don't know, you know, I guess it just depends a lot on three girls and what, but Tina and I, Joyce Pelbert, are you still there? I see your.
Yeah, I am. I just raised my hand. I wanted to ask.
Oh, please.
When are you going to do this? All right.
Come back, come back. I wanna see
All
you.
right, I'll show up here.
Yay!
You.
I've been kind of lurking.
What were you going to ask, Joyce?
When are you going to do it again? And Marjorie, did you get my message with my email in it to tell me when you're going to do it again?
Yeah.
Class.
Yes, we are going to do it, I believe. We're talking about starting in December. Is that okay to say, Tina?
Yeah, we're thinking of starting another class in December, and then the start of it, and then having it continue through January, February.
And
yes, and so folks can email me, Tina at 3 Girls Theater, can also email Zach too, but you can email me, Tina at 3gt.org.
I actually emailed Marjorie after your last performance.
Oh, great. Okay.
But I didn't hear back, so I wasn't, so I was really glad that I was notified that this one came up, and it came up on my Facebook page from Mickey. And
you're a friend of Mickey's. Okay, yes. I remember that. I think I gave it to Tina.
All right, then I will make sure I email you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Things about, the students in terms of their work with 3 girls, and so it might have been, something to do with that, but I think we're opening it up more, so we'll see what happens.
I'm in a writing group now. Our limit's 600 words. I'm going to put together an anthology of 600 words.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So what you guys just got through talking about, it's very exciting.
Yes. Okay, good. Is it a group you're leading or?
No, no, it's through Open House, through Open House puts together a Saturday afternoon writing group, and there's about 9-10 of us.
Okay.
And
Excellent. Yeah. I was going to say something, but I can't remember what it was.
All right. I sent you a message, Joyce, on chat.
Did you? Okay, I'll get it. You guys, I really enjoyed all of it. Just authentic, wonderful writing. I've read Mickey and Janet's, we've been in groups together. So, and your last performance was really fun too, to watch what you guys came up with. So dramatic, what I'm going to call creative nonfiction kind of thing. And that's my genre.
Good. Well, that you fit right in.
Yeah, it would be fun.
The next class is going to be 10 weeks. And we haven't really discussed that with the writers yet, but that's what we're looking at as a possible next.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, it was great to see you, Mickey, Janet. I'll see you guys later. Thanks. Thanks a lot.
Bye. Thank you, Joyce.
And maybe you want to say anything, Patsy? You're still on. And okay. Matilda.
I'm so glad, Misha, that your niece was there.
Oh, good.
Oh, was she? I didn't see her.
That you were that you got the hookup through the laptop or the computer.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
You did.
I don't know what happened. It just changed everything, but she did it.
I gotta say, Mija, you look beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
You do.
How did everybody feel? Since we're still here, we could talk a little bit about how it felt for you, since we don't usually have a debriefing session.
Well, for me, because of the craziness with my phone and not being able to get online and having to not be in the space that I had practiced in.
Yeah.
I felt awkward. I felt that I messed up something terribly, but I made it through it. I want to say thank you to all of the women in this class. It has been an incredible class. And thank you for letting me be a part of this. Thank you, Tina, for inviting me to be a part of this. And thank you, Marjorie, for bringing out of me stories that I didn't know existed. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We're delighted to have you in the class. Wonderful. Very brave. And you're all very brave what you share, because many of your stories were very heartfelt and difficult to talk about. And you're being really brave in putting yourself out there, which is, you know, very touching for everybody in the audience, and people can relate. It brings their own stories out and their own emotions, and it's very healing that way. Anybody else want to say how it was for them?
Pat, how was it? What'd you think of the show?
Super. What else can I say? It was really wonderful.
Did you listen? Did you watch?
Yes, I did.
Did you?
Yeah.
You have anything you want to share about it?
No, not really.
All good.
Thank you, Tina. Yes, all good.
All good. Todo bien, todo bien.
It's good to see you.
Yeah,
Pat.
thank you. I
Mathilde,
know all of my friends enjoyed it, I'm sure. I'll be hearing from them.
well, Mathilde's right here, and she's been very vocal telling us how she's felt.
Yeah, I heard. I've been listening to Mathilde. Thanks, Mathilde. I enjoyed it.
It was wonderful. Thank you all. I'm going to go right now.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye, Mathilde. Thank you.
Bye.
So, and anybody, just because we're here, and you know, we can just take another minute. If you have anything you want to share about what it was like for you, or you know, what worked for you, what didn't work for you.
I'm going to leave now. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thanks for coming.
You
I
got
thought
it.
everybody brought it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good to see you, Tina.
Good to see you too,
I got to say, it's getting easier after having performed in this way and scrolling on the text and not being panicked that I didn't memorize it, but just become familiar with it. Let myself sit down in a chair instead of standing up, which would have been cool. It was cool when Mija was standing up, but I thought I might have to stand up for the whole thing. I can't do it. I don't want to do it. Anyway, so it was comfortable, and the scrolling is getting more like second nature, and the attempt to look at the camera is kind of getting there through my skull. So it was fun. It was fun, and I was not terrified.
You looked very comfortable, and you had very good eye contact too, and your delivery is very comfortable. And I think you've done it a bunch of times now, so you have that advantage. But you always have that personable kind of way of delivering, so it's your advantage. Anybody else? Was anything you know not so good for you this time? You know.
Well, I was just going to say, I really admire all of you who are performers and how you really can bring your pieces alive. It's, you know, not a strength of mine. And after being on Zoom for 10 hours today, I was not at my finest for me to read, but I'm just glad I got through it.
Oh, you did well. You did well, Mickey. You did well.
Always entertaining.
Yes. People related to the earworm for sure. Yeah. No, you know, that's the kind of thing that we can just do some side coaching with at some point, you know, if you like, just to work more on the performance part of it. But your writing is always so fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm the Owl fan club.
Yeah.
Wannabe person.
Oh, it's the whole.
Yeah, I felt it was like the comic relief between some really, you know, serious pieces tonight.
Yeah, we had a lot of seriousness tonight. A lot about grief and a lot about dads.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's interesting how that happened. It was unplanned.
Right. Trauma,
Mm-hmm.
racism. I feel like Alexis saved me with all this like girl on girl, queer, like holding hands, kiss, and
a little bit of fluff in the midst of a really deep, really, really inspiring and awesome stories you guys told. And I'm like the little cotton ball that's near the top of it. So
Not so fluffy as you're saying. There, and certainly with your girlfriend holding hands in the movie theater, beautiful descriptions of the movie theater and of the way that you tie it back to the past and present, and talking about what it's like, what it means to be the whole past.
Yeah.
It was not fluff. I don't think you're capable of fluff, actually. Okay, anybody else want to share? Myra, how did you feel?
Good. You know, whenever I perform, I never really know what's happening in the moment. Like, kind of like amnesia a little bit. You know, you're just kind of doing it. And then you just hope for the best.
Well, it was beautiful. And I want to thank you very much for sharing that piece. And I know it was difficult, and we talked a little bit about the ending. And thank you very much for, you know, sharing with us with your dad. And it's such a recent loss and still so raw. So I just want you to know how much we appreciate that.
Thank you. Yeah, writing this, I think, has helped me kind of dive in a bit deeper. Like I was saying with you on the phone the other day, Marjorie, like it was kind of superficial still, the grief, but like really digging in and writing this opened more stuff up for me, which I think I needed to do.
That's
yeah.
great. Yeah.
I appreciated this part too. I was really hesitant to read my pieces because I usually default to silly, you know, but you have to go with whatever is moving, you know, whatever is in you. And right now, you know, I'm grieving my mom's decline. And so that's where I'm at. And it's bringing up my dad too, my loss of him. And so I thought, well, I guess I just have to go with what I wrote, you know, and it was hard to do, but I'm glad I did.
So well, and that anything should be written. It's that piece, you know, about grief that you write at the end about dancing and the grief, and it's so profound and so beautifully written. I would love to see it again, you know, in some kind of book. It was lovely.
Thank you. I've written a lot of poetry about my dad too, so maybe it would fit in with that.
Mm-hmm. Sure, absolutely.
I had this bittersweet moment of wanting to really picture this time your dad dancing because you were describing he wasn't a bad dancer.
Yeah.
And thinking this is your dad. So like, and he's really funny and you're hilarious. And you just have this, you know, incredible, you know, essence, Maureen. So it made me more choked up this time.
Yeah, this last time when I heard you talk about dancing with your dad, I was struck by what an amazing metaphor you'd put there, that grief is a bossy dancer. And that just struck me so, and you know, you don't get to choose, you're going to dance and it's going to be clumsy. And it captured so much, Mo. I was really, really touched and really also just amazed at the elegance of how you put that together, because it captured things about my experiences of grief that I haven't ever tracked before. I haven't ever had them captured that beautifully. So it's a knockout. Yeah.
Yes. And Mija, your piece, both of them, so powerful and so
incredible,
right out there, you know. And in the piece about the subway, it doesn't matter to me what color you are. I think just the experience of having somebody accost you like that, and the fear and being young, and I've certainly had that happen. And, you know, we don't hear about it that often, and it's important to
Thank you. Well, like I told you before, Marjorie, I have no idea. I had totally forgotten that incident. And the prompt to what I should have listened brought that all out of me. And I was like, oh my God, I couldn't believe it. When I read it, after I finished writing it, I was like, oh my God, what is this? You know, and it came from some place that was deep inside of me or something. And I'm glad it's out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel good about that. So, you know, I mean, I think this, the way that you do these workshops, you do this class, is really wonderful. It's really wonderful. It's very different from any writing class I have ever taken before.
All right.
So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. Anybody else have anything they want to share? I think we've.
I just wanted to say to Mija that your voice is such an asset for your stories, because your voice is kind of what you said about yourself, where you're from. It was just so warm and so strong and so deep. It's like you can just tell me any story and just, you know, I'll listen all night long, because it's just really enfolding. It's sort of, and it's also, the pace is amazingly fine. Like sort of what your mom, you said about your mom, how she spoke and how she loved to read, and it also strong like your aunts, you know, wherever you got that voice, it's a great way to give a story to people.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, I agree. Very powerful voice. Yes.
Zach is making me laugh right now, and I wanted to say that yes, Marjorie, yes, Mija. Now I'm having a dyslexia. Your voice is it feels like you were born a storyteller. So just that you're writing like sort of these epic pieces that I'm so excited about. I'm so excited.
It's a good way to say it. Born a storyteller. I feel that way too.
I would write that down. Born a storyteller.
You are. Because your voice has all this, you know, your voice has all of the theatrics of the theater, right? The you know, the pauses, the time, the tempo.
That's years of voice lessons and theater, doing theater since 1968. So yeah, I'm supposed to have that, I guess.
I think it's a natural thing for you too. Yeah. And your southern upbringing. A lot of storytelling.
I know you know, Thanksgiving, you sit, you know, all the kids sit at the kids' table and all the adults sit at a different table. And I used to sit at the kids' table and just listen, because my mother, my grandfather, my grandmother, my aunties, they would just be telling stories. It was amazing to me. And as a kid, I just listened.
Oh, lucky you. And Jan, I just want to say thank you for also your humor. Because, you know, we started out with some humor, even though you're serious in some of it, but it was good to have that. And I think I already told you some of the things I thought, but I just remember it balanced things out. You and Zoe and Alexis and Mickey, you know, so it wasn't all like, you know, Sturm und Drang here.
I loved it all, and I didn't know that about an underwear drawer, Jan. You always have good ones.
Your jewelry, right? And go home and move it. Yeah, that's the first place they look. The first.
You should hear about
it. So funny.
All right. Well, thank you all again. And I hope to see you again, all of you, and we'll be back in touch and hopefully reconnoiter.
I will be reaching out and emailing everyone about the next class, if you want to take it, all that good stuff. And seems like Marjorie wants to continue teaching these classes, which was what we all hope. And yay! And folks are always welcome to write testimonials, because it definitely makes a difference in keeping these classes going, keeping the work going for 3GT. Anyway, thank you, everybody. This is an amazing, amazing lineup.
Oh, it's hard to say goodbye.
It is.
Hard to say goodbye.
Well, I have a question about the recording. I know you were talking about it earlier.
Yeah.
Will it be made available just to even watch it? And the one prior to this?
That's a great.
Maybe.
Hi, Zach.
Hi, everyone.
Tell us.
It can be. I mean, Tina can have access to it. I can show her where it's at. We haven't discussed exactly what the policy would be in terms of sharing it, but it's easy enough to do.
It could maybe go on YouTube.
It certainly maybe could. Yeah. It would be wonderful if you guys could keep bothering Tina and I about it, because it's COVID and it's, you can only do so many things in the day. And sometimes so anyway, keep reminding us.
Yes,
we
please.
can absolutely make something happen.
Okay.
For sure.
All right, great.
Yeah. Yes. Please keep reminding.
Yeah.
And say hi to Agent.
We definitely made a point of recording.
Okay. Good. Yeah. Interesting.
Thank you, Tina.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye,
everybody. Bye.
everyone.
It was fabulous.
Have a good
Thank you so much.
Thanks again, Zach.
Thank you, Zach.
Thank you, Marjorie.
Yay, Zach.
Good night, Mo, Jan.
And
Janet,
don't,
it was good to see
if you
you.
haven't seen Tina's show yet, it has 3 more performances this weekend.
I'm going on Sunday.
Free show.
Oh yeah.
Don't miss it.
Don't miss it.
Okay.
It's really fun. She's wonderful. Amazing.
I'm gonna shut this. I'm gonna.
All right.
Okay, time to go
Salon down until
Turn
we
off
meet
the
again.
lights. Okay, we gotta go. Thank you, Zach.
Bye.
Bye.
Mwah.